Welcome back to another part two segment of Envision with not only Marshall, but Ms. Paula. Ms. Paula, we're going to lead off with you on this one, this next segment, and I think it's a very interesting topic. We're going to talk about generational powerhouse. When you think and you envision becoming a generational powerhouse, how do we encompass all of that into what we're trying to accomplish, not only with Marshall campaign, but with your children and your children's children and things of that nature? What would you say to that aspect?
Generational powerhouse. Well, in terms of Marshall, I'm going to say generational powerhouse. He's concerned about today. He's going to look back a little bit where we've been, but he's concerned about tomorrow and the future.
Okay.
He's not in this campaign to just look at what I can do for you right now, but how I can grow this city to be a stronger one. You know, at this point in time, if I can say honestly, my kids don't want to stay here. That's a maybe a good thing in a way, because kids have to fly and find their way. But the young people are not finding this a place that has much to offer them. And so we need to do something about that today. At some point, we would like for them to come back if that's what they would want to do. But we need to think about the different areas of what a quality of life might be. From education, socialization, just infrastructure, housing, police protection, et cetera, et cetera. I think that Lake Charles, every time I see Lake Charles, every time I talk about Lake Charles, I tell Marshall, it's a beautiful city.
Beautiful city.
Really is.
Have a lot to work with. But we need to be strategic economically. We need to even know what the people want. There's so many communities that make up Lake Charles. What they want. What I don't want is someone coming into the community saying, I want this to be in your community, and I have no idea that it's coming. And people feel offended by that. Have you ever sat in an audience with the people in your community with a majority coming in and saying, this is going to happen, and everybody's like, I didn't know that was going to happen. You need to talk to the people, and you need to do your research about things. I think every community is that way. Even on this political campaign, we're talking to all sides of Lake Charles. What are some of the issues in your community that we need to pay attention to? So I think that generational powerhouse, it starts with meeting the people, figuring out what people truly need as a whole. We're really not in it for ourselves, are we? I think if the people can, if you can earn the people's trust by doing the right thing by them, that's the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. Marshall, man, you got. I see where a lot of your passion comes from.
We live together. We talk together. This is she hears it from me, and I hear it from her.
That's it. In going forward, elaborating a little bit more on that generational powerhouse.
Sure.
When you look at the direction that the city is headed in, with the mass exodus of the population from the storm. Right. And then now you look at the children who had an opportunity to go to Houston, go to a Beaumont or somewhere in Texas or even New Orleans or Baton Rouge, right? Sure. What are we to do moving forward?
Well, like Paula said, we have to know what the people want. My children's friends, I remember they closed down the skating rink. That was traumatic for those children, you know? Why? I mean, why don't we have something for them? There's a lot of talent in this city that's not being heard. We've got people that are staying in places too long, and it gets stagnant. And then the younger people get disengaged. And once the younger people get disengaged, instead of a generational powerhouse, there's a generational drain. So I said my background is government. So I think in terms of, there's two types of ways you look at things. Politicians make decisions based on the next election. Statesmen make decisions based on the next generation. And one friend told me, he said, well, a statesman is nothing more than a dead politician. And he's right. There has to be a balance. I mean, you need to make decisions that's going to please the people today, but you have to have a focus on what's going to push us forward tomorrow. Right now, we're building back to Lake Charles 2.0. That didn't do well these last set of hurricanes. And if that's all we had, that's one thing. But we have the opportunity to move well beyond that. Not just from the hurricane recovery, but the LNGs. We're about to experience another boom. But I'm already seeing where there's an influx of people that's going to come here. They're going to get a paycheck and they're gone. People in Lafayette, Beaumont, DeRidder, they're setting up parking rides where they're going to drive in, go to work, and that paycheck is gone. We've got people the opportunity to grow a city. We've had the Capital One building come down. So the definition of Lake Charles, that was an L-shaped city that not many people had, it's gone. And I remember at first people were celebrating like, oh, we're going to get rid of this thing. I'm like, wait, go to Chicago, take a tour down the river and see similar architectural buildings like that and see if they would celebrate those things leaving. No. But that's just a mindset.
Yeah.
Donnie, one thing is people have to understand who they are before they can become that. We're Lake City. We have Lake Charles, Big Lake, Sweet Lake, Prian Lake. We got the Calcasieu River, English Bayou, Caoutchouc Coulee. We're defined by water, but we don't really celebrate the water because we've got industries, we've got other things, and those are things that not many people have. Where I live at, you've got an interstate I-10, mainline rail, Union Pacific, and the Calcasieu River, all within a half-mile radius of each other. There's not many places in the country have that. How do you leverage that not only to create jobs, create quality of life, but you create opportunities for your children so that if they decide to leave, it's more an option, not a mandate.
Not a mandate.
I travel all over the country. I see people from this area that are doing phenomenal, transformational things that they just couldn't do it if they stayed here. And and it's unnecessary. If that's all we had, fine. I see a different Lake Charles. I mean, my vision is I always try to see where we are and where we can be. I do that in my law practice. I do that with my children, my family. And the fruit is borne out that all those things have thrived. It's not because of me. It's because I refuse to stay stagnant in a situation and think that that's all we have.
Wow. And the unique thing about what you just said with the lakes, Big Lake, Sweet Lake, Lake Charles and things of that nature, we have what most cities don't have. We have waterway, we have beautiful lakefront properties and things of that nature, homes that are built along, even where we're at here, Riverside and things of that nature. What will it take for those that are looking at positions with some of these, LNG companies that are coming here, for people to say, you know what, I don't want to just commute in. I want to stay here. I want to bring my family here. I want my kids to go to school here. What do you think it will take to get those people that are looking at as Lake Charles as a potential landing spot? What will it take to keep them here?
Well, we've done, on the Community Foundation, we did that. As part of that Just Imagine process, we brought in urban design associates. They're urban planners. They go through and they figure out what makes a community grow. We did this 50-year resiliency plan. Part of that was get away from the low-income housing. Let's build mixed income communities. And as a result of that, the Community Foundation partnered with the Lake Charles Housing Authority, and we sought a $40 million grant that HUD had that is competitive. And we're competing with cities like Pittsburgh and all these other places, and we weren't even on the radar screen, but we pulled those energies together, and guess what? We were successful in getting that. Matter of fact, we were so successful that just imagine part of the process, the mid-city transformation, won a pretty significant award from urban planning. And as a result of that, we didn't just use that 40 million to say, okay, let's go and rebuild that one little area. We partnered with everybody. We contacted and got leveraged a lot of the other areas, resources in the community, whether it was Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, health centers, everything else, and got a $270 million commitment to add to that. So imagine that this area from the Prairie Lake Mall to Sallier Street is about to get a $300 million infusion. You've got Walnut Grove already to one side and the Ryan Street downtown the other side. So that one big old giant area of Lake Charles is about to transform itself, where it's going to be a mixed income community. You're still going to have subsidized housing, but it's not going to be a housing project.
Yeah.
You know, you look at, and that's plug and play. The same thing that you do there, you can do in other areas of the city that's decaying. Like I said, the northern part and eastern part of Lake Charles are turning into donut holes. They're not getting the attention that they deserve. And these places have, I mean, Highway 14, 171 is the only north-south corridor that goes through this area. So it's not like for lack of traffic or lack of anything else. It's lack of energy, lack of focus. You know, I can go and build a Mardi Gras museum and call it a day, but what job is that creating? What is that doing except just feathering some nests? Let's talk transformational. Let's talk about, I'm the mayor, private sector. We've done these, we've talked to the community, this is what they need. We want to build the infrastructure to help make it affordable for you to come in. Buc-ee's didn't come to Lake Charles because everybody's talking about the truck stop off the I-10 Shattuck Street, but there's no infrastructure. You look at the place, it's just a pool of water just sitting there. Those companies are not going to come in and rebuild your infrastructure. So we need to think in terms of, what do we do? Lafayette built, I remember Paula's from Lafayette, they built Kali Saloon Road. It was nothing but a road in the middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking, man, these Cajuns, what are they doing? Well, guess what? You go down there now, it's everything.
Everything. Yep.
So we're behind where we got to catch up. I mean, you look at Country Club Road, you look at Ham Reed Road, you look at Big Lake Road, you look at 397, you look at Gautier Road. That's just on the south side.
Yeah.
I was trying to extend Enterprise Boulevard to connect I-10 and 171. That would have transformed all of this area. But until we put that kind of energy into our infrastructure, we're not sending the right type of vibes out there that's going to make people want to attract business-wise. And I leave you with a final thing. When I was on the city council, Global Industries had an engineering resource center in Carlos, Louisiana. They only had 2 in the world, there and in Singapore, China.
Wow.
They were attracting the best and brightest engineers from all over the country to come in and train them to work for Global Industries. And I remember Mr. Bill Doré, the guy that came after him, was really frustrated because they had brought all these young people in and there was nothing to attract them socially or whatever else where they could plug into the community, and other companies were coming and just picking them off. They finally had to move that resource industry to Houston.
Wow. An
opportunity that's lost because we couldn't get our act together. So to attract people, we need to find places for them to integrate into this community. It can't be just come to Lake Charles and do this. I mean, when I came back, we saw everything, but we had to integrate ourselves in. There was nothing really to plug us into except my family. But we need to get ahead of that. You know, we need venues that's going to engage these children.
Yes.
The families that's going to say, look, I want to invest. Businesses. Oh wow, you've got home ownership. You've got highways jobs. Now you're attractive. We're coming to you. And if we get to that, we will become a powerhouse, not just for this generation, but for the next and the next and the next. And if they keep building on that, these hurricanes, we'll be able to deal with them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because it's a unique thing that we're not the only, area of the Gulf that gets hit by multiple hurricanes. You know, and when we come back on our next segment, we're going to talk about what differs us from a Tampa, Tallahassee, Mobile, Alabama, things that that are Gulf Coast areas. How are they able to rebuild after suffering devastation, and while we're still stuck in first gear? So we're going to come back with another segment of Envision with Lake Charles with Marshall Simien, candidate for the mayoral position of Lake Charles 2025. Ms. Paula, we thank you for being here.